This is Outlaw Window Cleaner Radio, and this is T Squeegee, and I am here with Richie Blue, Marcus Bay, and we're about to talk all things Marcus Bay for a little while, and that'll probably include some wagtail, I don't know, some other cool opinions from Richie. You know how Richie is, he's always got something really insightful to say, and I will most likely say the F word a couple of times. And
I want to hear about Marcus's nightlife and going out dancing in the clubs and all that,
in the clubs and all that stuff. I want to hear
and
about
showing
that
up
too.
late for his job.
Yeah,
man.
right.
And his boss wanting to fire him. That was awesome.
And if everyone wants to, and if everyone's wondering, they're watching this and they're like, dudes, what happened to the video part of this? We are like entering the Marcus Bay mystique zone, and we're not going to show our faces for this podcast. You might get like intermittent smiles from me or maybe Richie or something. I don't know. I might like turn my camera on so you can see me picking my nose. But we're adding to the mystique here. Time. Yeah. So Marcus, I'm just gonna full disclosure here. We talked for 10 minutes and I screwed up and didn't record it, so we're going to talk about the same thing over again for 10 minutes. So I'm going to ask Marcus what I already asked Marcus, how his season is going so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's going great. I'm getting more calls now that the weather has changed, but it's just been, man, it's been butt scorching hot, man.
Right.
The humidity has just been brutal.
Right.
I mean, my pit's been leaking, man. I mean, you talk about dripping, man. Right. My back's been soaked.
So, you mentioned before that you were getting a lot of your residential customers from last year. You're getting a bunch of repeat business this year, so that's pretty good. Yeah.
And it all started with the Nextdoor app. And as much as I know you don't like to hear this name, but Mr. James Rowley, who turned the other cheek, he was the one that turned me on to Nextdoor, and I decided to give it a go. And originally, actually, Nextdoor app was originally designed for finding lost dogs.
Right. Well, that's essentially how me and my wife and I were introduced to Nextdoor. Is a woman here in our neighborhood. She passed out little slips of paper, stuck them in everyone's doors, and she started a community group here in our neighborhood on Nextdoor. It's like, hey, download the app, and we can, if somebody's dog comes up missing, or somebody's car gets broken into, or somebody's house gets toilet papered, you know what I mean? We can, we can coordinate like garage sailing and trick or treat and all that stuff, so it's an awesome app, and it's turned into something where you can get business off of it as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I got business from it. It's a good app.
Yeah.
Like now it is, but we were saying before, like
hop on it now before they start charging you like Home Advisor for it,
or Yelp or Angie's.
I think that's what's going to happen, but. I mean, for now, I'm taking advantage of it. And to my surprise, at the time, I didn't even know they could leave you a review. And my first customer left a review. And once they left that positive review, man, I got like 3 or 4 calls from that alone.
That's nice,
so
man.
that was like repeat service,
Oh, yeah. Nothing better than a good review, even if it is on the internet, it's still word of mouth, you know what I mean? So... That said, you're not paying for a lead. You're not, none of that stuff. It's just somebody saying, hey, I hired Marcus, and Marcus did a wonderful job. And, people see that, and they're like, oh, shit, well, I'm going to hire Marcus, too, because I like clean windows. You know what I mean? And that shit that's a rolling effect. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to pick up and pick up.
It's a domino effect.
Right. Yeah, and the way that it's set up too is it's all localized. So like exactly. In other words, like you go into Craigslist or someplace like that, you're talking to people all over the country, but they have you set up zip codes when you guys
target certain townships. You're right.
Right.
Yeah. So for residential, especially, I think it's a great app. I mean, maybe not so much for like storefront guys, but for
Right.
residential, yeah.
Residential work, you're gonna smash it on residential. Um,
Hmm.
hey, hey.
Well,
So
see,
Marcus,
I want to hear more about Marcus's how he got started in window cleaning.
that's what I
Remember,
want. I was just getting ready to ask him.
yeah.
well,
Welcome to
like
the
I
Richie
said,
Blue Show.
well, just before 10 minutes before T Squeegee's computer went kaput, uh, we were talking about how I got into this business, and I was just graduating
He
high
was he
school.
was in the Chippendales and they fired him.
Ah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know what he talking about, but he on some other stuff.
Right.
You know, when I got out
You
of
got
high school,
a certificate to do air conditioning, right?
oh
And
yeah, I graduated high school and I went in for HVACR, which is heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration.
Correct.
So went in there. It's a year course and it's free. From the township. So I went for that and I got a basic knowledge of electrical trades and wiring up fuse panels. I mean, I blew up a lot more projects than I did actually making it work. But I just tried to have my hand at that because I like to work with my hands.
Right.
I wasn't a book smart person, and my mother, growing up in the ghetto, we didn't have money to go to college, so I had to take up some kind of a trade. So I said, well, you know what? Let me try this. People need to stay cool. People need to stay warm. So I did that for a while, and after a year, I couldn't get a job. So I said, you know what? Let me go enhance my ability and go back in a second year. So I never finished my second year, but I went in for a year and a half. And so I guess you could say I got a certificate and a half, almost two certificates. So
that's pretty cool.
Got involved with a local plumbing and heating contractor who actually really had me doing all the grunt work, just like how people hire Mexicans to do grunt work of landscaping and things of that nature. So they sent me down in these cesspools,
Okay.
People that have like
They don't send Mexicans down in cesspools or any other or is it just you got to be black?
No, they do a lot of but because I didn't have enough on the job training, they wanted to break me in, I guess. I don't know. Every rookie had to go through that. Who knows?
Oh, I got you. Like being a bosun's mate.
Cess tank. It smelled like who did it ran. I mean, it was putrid. I mean, we had to pull these hoses up from these suck pumps that sucked up all this garbage and crap, and we had to clear all that stuff out. Every day I smelled like who did it and ran. Needless to say, after 2 months, I got laid off, and I said, man, the heck with this. So once I discovered it was a black-owned company in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and I got in not knowing nothing about window cleaning. And I didn't graduate high school saying I want to become a window cleaner. Who does that? So I went.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Alan Smith. I love that guy, man.
I'll tell you what. When I got out of high school, I had a job working for an agri-services company, and we used to. My job was to get into sewage digesters, and these are tall concrete round buildings. They look like silos almost, but really fat silos, fat and short, maybe 2-3 stories tall. And it was treated human waste, and what it would be, it was the solids left over after they went through the sewage plant, and those things would fill up. Those things would fill up, and once they got so full, you had to pump it all out. So what you had to do was you put a mask on and a wetsuit, and you jump down in this shit mud, and you use a fire hose.
That's almost similar. Yeah, that's similar to what we had.
That's what, when you were just saying that, it brought that to mind. You'd jump in there with a fire hose and a trash pump, and squirt water into this and pump all of this down into trucks.
Yeah.
And they would
It's
take
fun
that
stuff,
they
man.
would take that stuff and use it in they'd plow it into fields. You know what I mean? To get rid of it. So in a
Yeah.
Terrigator, that's those big 5-wheeled tractors with the big tank on the back. They got a single tire up front. They fill that up with
Oh,
shit and then
yeah.
blade it into the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not growing produce with that crap, are they?
I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't think so. I don't think so. I
Well,
didn't stick around to see if they
I
grew
know they
corn.
use horse manure. I know they use horse manure to grow, produce and fertilizer. And, they say it's good for
Right,
fertilizer.
right. Yeah, I
And,
don't know. Like I said, when I was never in the blading it into the ground process. I was always in a 3-story deep fucking concrete silo pumping human shit out. Um, so
man,
I
that
would.
smell, that must
I
have
even.
smelled awful.
I even ate my lunch in there.
Ew.
What, man? You know.
Man, you're
Got
trifling.
nah, you keep it clean, bro. They lower it down to you in a bucket. You sit on the ladder and got the fire hose over your shoulder, and you wash up and fucking eat your sandwich, and little doodle on your fingers never hurt, man.
Well, I guess first things will kill you, right?
Exactly. Hey, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
So
God
Marcus,
willing.
you're. Do you primarily? I mean, what is your forte? Are you like? Are you in one side of window cleaning more than the other? Do you do more a storefront than you do residential, or is it like residential seasonal and storefront year round? Is that more like you like me in that sense?
Well, I kind of built my business. Well, actually, after I left my job, I
Uh
realized I was being used. I actually got a lucky break, and I got actually a contract cleaning $750,000 homes up in North Jersey.
huh.
I was guaranteed 2 houses a week for the next 5 years, and each house was valued at $1,800.
Uh huh.
So I was making about, I guess, about a little over $3,600 a week, and I
Uh
had a partner. I actually hired help, and I paid him $300 per house.
huh.
A house would take me about 12 hours, but keep in mind, we had to do everything. We had to power wash the basement, power wash the driveway.
Hmm.
We had to do construction cleanup of the windows. We had to dust out the cabinets, all that. I'm talking about final phase cleaning.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it was good money.
Of
And I
course.
only worked 2 days out of the week, and I got paid like $1,500 a week.
Right.
But I had sent some help up there. I mean, he was some guy from Ghana, Africa, and he didn't do too much of a great job. And I got all types of callbacks, and I lost the contract. So at that point, I almost swallowed my pride and was going to, ask for my job back, but I didn't. And I went to go work for a Jewish man, back then.
Uh huh.
But it was just rough times, man. I was going to pack up and move to Alaska and
What?
become a fisherman.
A
Yeah, I
fisherman?
was.
You was about to go do some deadliest catch shit?
Man,
Yeah.
trust me, I was
Jeez,
going to go out
Marcus.
to do Alaskan snow crab fishing and salmon fishing. You
Wow.
know, the average fisherman makes about 100 grand a year.
Right.
Yeah. And that's
So
all.
I mean, at that time, I realized that because I was a high-rise window cleaner, that skill, I could go anywhere in the world and get a job. So I actually had job offers in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Hawaii, Naples, Florida. The owner of this window cleaning company, I don't remember the name of it now, but back then he said, when you're ready to relocate, call me. We have 3 months relocation temporary housing with yearly and quarterly bonuses. And I was standing to make about $1,000 a week
Uh huh.
doing high-rise work. So I thought that was pretty cool. Seeing as how I wasn't married, I didn't have kids then. I mean, I still don't have kids, at least none that I know of.
Right.
But I just decided to, I said, you know what? No matter where I go, I'm going to have troubles. I mean, I'm having issues with one problem here, if I go to another place, let's say Alaska, I'm going to find new problems.
Right.
So it's not where you're from, it's where you're at, you know.
Right.
So I had to make do with the best thing that I have. And actually, when I didn't have a license, I actually did all this by bicycle, you know. And after I left my job and lost the contract, I said, well,
you mean when you were developing your storefront, when you decided to work for yourself, you doing it all on a bicycle?
Yeah, but the amazing thing is, after I lost that North Jersey contract of those $750,000 homes, I got in with a builder, and he did like construction for a shopping center at that time. And I just went in there, just, you know, I said, you know what, let me try my luck. I was getting off the bus, and I said, you know, let me get off the bus. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I put invoice in, and I wrote some stuff down, an estimate, and I gave him a price for construction cleanup. It was one story. It must have been about maybe 500 or 600 windows, and he only wanted the outside done. There was a little bit of caulking and cement on the windows, but I already knew what I needed to do to get it done, because we've worked with acid on many of jobs doing high rise. I had to use acid doing 40-story buildings and stuff like that. So I knew the chemicals to get the job done.
Right.
So we actually wanted to see insurance, and I didn't have that at the time. So
I always tell people, I say, I don't have insurance, I have assurance, man.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I assure that the job is going to get done.
I assure you're going to like this when it's finished.
So I actually, when I was genieing, prior to this, I met with a janitorial lady. She owned a janitorial company in North Philly somewhere. I don't know, somewhere in Philly. And she was Jamaican. And I actually went to her house and visited. She gave me her car and said, listen, I see you do high rise, and I was watching you, and I wanted to start a window cleaning branch. And I need you to I was thinking of maybe having you teach me or maybe manage my window cleaning part of the business. So I said, okay, we can talk about this. So she invited me over, cooked me some oxtails with rice and all this crap.
Woo-wee. Yeah.
She made me some Jamaican carrot juice, which was made with Guinness Stout and Nutriment and some other, I don't know, some other kind of nutmeg and cream or whatever.
Yeah,
and,
are you sure she only wanted you to maybe manage?
Yeah.
It sounded like she wanted something else.
Sounds like she was trying to get you to manage something else, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, she was divorced and single.
Oh, hey.
But, you know, I mean, she was nice looking. I mean, hey, I don't discriminate. I like all my women, you know.
Right.
So, needless to say, after I spoke to her, I said, well, I might have a job and I don't have insurance. And if you would like to, I'm all with it, because I left my job. I didn't want to tell her everything, but I told her that I'm trying to start my own thing. I left my job. I was a manager, managing a high-rise company. Because after working myself up from the worst employee to the best employee.
Why were you the worst employee again? You said it earlier. When you started out, you said you were the worst employee.
I was running the streets. I was going from club to club, New York, Baltimore, D.C.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you were getting your dance on, man. Yeah. Yeah,
I actually was on TV for a good amount of time. So I was on 2 TV shows for a good many seasons. And this is why I don't go on the camera anymore, because those days are over. And the camera actually captures your soul. I don't know if any of you believe in all that crap, but when you think about it, if you look at
No, I'm not laughing. No, we believe in all kinds of shit. That's why TJ's rolling his eyes right now.
What? Hey, listen, man, you can't drop no shit like that on me, Marcus. God damn
but
it,
the
man.
camera can actually see ghosts and things that nature. Now I know you talk about Bigfoot and all this jazz. So if you believe
you don't believe in Bigfoot, man, come on.
Hey,
why
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this, Marcus.
Don't
I used to.
Don't discredit Bigfoot, man.
Well, listen, I used to actually investigate paranormal locations with one of the guests I've actually had on the show already before, Jason Snyder. So it's not like I don't. It's not that I don't believe in ghosts. Ooh, you're not coming on camera, are you?
No,
Okay.
I don't know.
You got a black screen right now.
What was it before?
It was just your picture.
Your logo, man.
Your logo. Hey, man.
Masters
see,
at
you're not
work,
trying to
baby.
get your soul snatched, are you?
Now what's it doing now?
It's just a black screen.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Yep. See, you brought
That's
that
all right.
shit up, man.
Yeah, man. See? Well, it was because he was bad-mouthing Bigfoot. That's why.
Yeah, Bigfoot just entered in from another dimension and fucking touched the video button on your phone. You might have just hit the video button on your phone. That's probably what it might have been. And turned your camera. But you might have turned your camera on and didn't realize it.
Probably. But the
camera captures your soul, and you were a dancer, and you were spending a lot of time on camera, and you were the worst employee ever because of that.
Oh yes, I was the worst employee because I was hanging out. I was calling out because I was so tired to go to work. I mean, when before he put me in a chair, I had to push somebody on a rig, and you know, on some roofs, I don't know if you've been on roofs. I mean, you're not a high rise person, so
I mean,
if you on, huh?
We used to do rope access work for the company that I own now. I didn't do the rope access. I was actually his helper. You know what I mean? So we did about 6 buildings that were about 6 stories was the highest. But so it wasn't, we didn't do a lot of it, but I was around it. Yes, I was taught by a high rise window cleaner.
6 stories, that ain't nothing.
Yeah.
But some of the roofs up there have big boulders and rocks on there.
Yeah.
I don't know why they had rocks on top of roofs, but I guess there was a reason for that. But I actually used to sleep on that because I was up in the middle of the night and I was asleep in the middle of pushing this guy from the next set of windows, and he used to shake the rope vigorously to get my attention.
Because Marcos was up there snoozing, man.
Yeah, man, I was snoring. I was sawing some wood up there on that roof. And he would come up and say, "Hey, man, did you feel me shaking the rope?" I said, "No, why?" I said, "Man, you got to wake up, man. You keep falling asleep." So,
dude, you're the worst, man. Damn.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, man, I was getting it in. But at least I came to work.
Right.
But he says, "Listen, man, he said, I don't want to have to cut you loose, but I need you to step it up. You know, I mean, you're going to have to change." So he says, do you want more per hour? You want to get paid more? I says, heck yeah. He says, well, listen, I'm going to give you the opportunity. And that's when he said, listen, I said, I don't want to become a manager. I don't want the responsibility. I had to babysit grown men. Right. You know, he sent me on college campuses. I had to oversee 5 and 8 man crews, you know, and I had to keep checking up on people. And a lot of the times we would goof off and I would say, all right, we're going to knock off for the next 3 hours and just, you know, chill. I mean, when we went to Atlantic City to do the casinos, I mean, we'd be down in the food and the all you can eat places because they allowed us to eat.
Right.
Man, we would eat, get niggeritis, and said, man, we ain't going nowhere. We ain't hanging over. We would throw the ropes over the side and said, okay, it's an hour past, so let's move it over to the next set of windows and then lay back down again. I said, you know what's going to happen tomorrow, though, right? And I said, well, we're going to have to work our ass off because at the end of the day, we had to write the percentage of the amount of work we got done. We will lie, of course. And because I was faster than the average Joe, Man, I was genieing with a 30-inch wagtail then, and that's unheard of. No one who hangs in the air and genies with a 30-inch squeegee?
Right.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, Marcus. Okay, you're the wagtail man. Everybody knows it, right? When was the very, very first time? I mean, why wagtail? When was the first time you used a wagtail? Why did you decide to use it? What got you into it?
Well, that was easy. Well, I told you I was hanging out in the clubs and I wanted to sleep more than I did work. So after actually, my boss gave us tools to use, but he made us pay for it. He deducted $60. He gave us a 18-inch squeegee and a mop and some other necessities, but he also deducted out of a paycheck and said if we lose it, then we have to pay for it all over again. So when I discovered, I was looking to find out, well, what can I do to speed up production? Because there was one guy, his nephew, and he was a high-rise guy, and he was fast, man. I mean, he was really fast. And I said, man, no way this guy's going to outshine me. So, I mean, he was fast, but he was sloppy. I mean, he was chopping windows up left and right. I mean, it just looked like Freddy Krueger. It was a hot guy. I mean, you might as well call him the butcher boy.
Right.
But I said, yeah, man, Dennis, you fast, but you're sloppy. So
he was using a wagtail?
No, he wasn't using a wagtail. No one heard of wagtail at this time. Mm-hmm. So I discovered wagtail after going.
I used them. I remember when they first came out. Like, not, it hasn't been 20 years. Has it been 20 years?
No, not quite.
It's been like, I don't know.
Well, so I started in 95. Halfway through 96, I discovered wagtail. And matter of fact, I touched on a comment that Willie had mentioned that he started and then he corrected himself when I told him that I started using wagtails in 96. And then he says, oh, yes, you're right. So he knew that I was
He forgot when he started the company, yeah.
Right. So when I put this tool, I bought it, I ordered it, I showed my boss. He just was smiling and he was like, oh, he didn't have a really opinion about it. But once I started to use it, I said, man, this thing is kind of cool, but I couldn't, for the life of me, I couldn't get it to work. So I said, all right, well, let me just keep working at it because I was determined because I noticed that it had a longer reach. And if anyone has ever done high-rise work, when you're trying to reach to the next set of windows, you don't want to keep swinging with that rope because, it's no fun when you're swinging for some people it might be, but I didn't want to swing so much because I had a suction cup and I wanted to stay put. So I noticed that it had a longer reach. So I says, okay, man, this is kind of cool. So once I started knocking out builders and that guy that was fast, that was chopping windows up, man, I was leaving.
How big was that one that you were using? You said it was a 30-inch?
Well, I had ended up getting an 18-inch orbital wagtail at the time, and then I got a 30-inch because he had put me on the Federal Reserve Bank in Philadelphia, and they had humongous, the windows were like, I guess about 10 feet long. And they were about 10 feet long by 6 feet in width. But needless to say, I had to really swing and stretch to get the whole window. But with the 30-inch, I didn't waste no time. Yeah. And they used to laugh and say, oh, man, what are you going to do with that? But I always got down faster. By the time, at the end of the day, I was like 3 drops ahead of them. And we're talking about a 12-story building.
That's a lot, man, to be ahead of somebody. On
3 drops. 3 drops, 12 stories, you do the math.
Right.
So, I sat up on the roof and I just chilled back, smoked my black and mild, and that was it, But To be honest with you,
so wait, so basically, what I'm starting to gather here, because I like it that you like to talk, Marcus. But basically, what I'm gathering here is that you utilized and have stuck with the wagtail because you like to dance and party, and pretty much you were just trying to sleep. Listen, I need this wagtail. Wagtail equals sleep.
Yeah. You're right. I saved time.
Right.
Matter of fact, there was a public ledger building in Center City, Philadelphia, because it used to be full of filthy people at one time.
Uh-huh.
And this building was the first public news that processed newspaper and things of that nature.
Okay.
They call it the public ledger building.
Okay.
And they put me in there. And this is like a 13 or 14 story building. And usually he sends a crew out there. So I told him, I said, listen, what if I tell you that I will do that whole building myself, in and out, within 2 weeks? And he was like, man, if you can get that done, I will give you a bonus. So I says, okay, bet. So I did it. I went there. Half the floors were locked and closed. I couldn't get the security opened up. So I
Marcus, move your microphone. Yeah, I can't. You're muffling out, man.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So he half the floors were locked up and I couldn't have access to them. But here's an example of how long it takes for one person to do one floor. Each floor had about almost 500 windows. Okay, so one person could do about 3/4 of a floor, in and out. This is doing belt work. I'm not talking about genie work. This is belt work.
Okay.
You get out on the ledge, you put your belt on, you put the clips on, and you cross over to the next office.
Right.
And you come in through another office, another room. And most guys didn't feel comfortable because that's an old building. You talking about the early 1900s.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And these clips were embedded in brick. And Pennsylvania is known for the Keystone State. Mm-hmm. And if you know about the Keystone State, they use red brick. And a lot of that stuff is since Ben Franklin times.
Right.
So a lot of that, man, you put that clip on there, it has a lot of play and a lot of.
It's like that is some scary shit, man. That brick rots, dude.
You have to lean back in order to clean the window properly. And a lot of guys just didn't lean back. But some of actually, one of them pulled out on a guy. And he came in and said, that's enough. And at that point, I think they outlawed the belt work on that building after that. But needless to say, average person could get done almost all the windows on the floor. 3/4 of a fast guy could get done 3/4 of the way. I got done, no lie, 1.5 floors using wagtail. I got done 1.5 floors, which is equivalent to about maybe 500 or 600 windows.
Now, when Willie first came out with the wagtails, they didn't have the flipper pads on them. That came later.
Right.
And then they were gold. I think they had gold discs. And then when he came out with the flipper pad, the pads were gold too, like some yellow.
They didn't have gold discs. They had actually maroon discs.
Right.
And it actually had a pivot that was actually, it was almost like, how can I say? It wasn't even a screw. It was like, kind of like one of those, I don't know how to explain it, but.
It was like a rivet. It was like
thank you, a rivet. Yeah. Yes. And you once that fails, I mean, that thing spins around like a 360, like the little girl from The Exorcist. I mean, it's like a helicopter effect.
Yeah, and you can't tighten it up.
Did you end up doing that building by yourself?
Yes, I did it by myself, and I got it done in 2 weeks. So you know what the guy did, the owner, this is when I realized I need to go into business for myself. So after I did that, he gives me, I think,
$5. Right? Jesus, man, come on, dude.
got
No.
paid every 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
my paycheck was like $1,400, right? So he gives me a bonus of $300, and then he taxes the bonus.
Ooh.
So I said,
Ah.
"Wow!" I said, "Are you serious?"
Oh, wow.
I said, "I saved you how much money? You normally send a whole crew up, and I told you what I did. I mean, half the time, I knew I was fast." And he didn't just know. See, I gave people a little bit, but I didn't really let them know just how fast I was. So I told him I can get a floor done a day at least, but I was getting done a floor and a half a day, which he didn't know.
Mhm.
So like maybe 3 days out of the week, I was doing a floor and a half. The last 2 or 3 days, I was just sitting in a vacant room and just sleeping because I was up partying all night.
Damn, Marcus.
And I was still getting paid. I said, "Okay, you want to pay me $300 and then tax that?" I said, "I'll fix you." I said, "All right." I slept in that room, man, and I saw some wood like you wouldn't believe, man. But
So
yeah, man.
when you started so after this, and you kind of like, you know what, I'm not gonna go out and bust my ass and you know, sleep on the job 3 days a week, and for anymore. I'm gonna do that, you know, for myself. When you started building your business, did you set out to be that guy to do high rise window cleaning, or you were just like, you know what, I'm just gonna clean glass, whatever I can get, I'm gonna do it?
Exactly. That's what I did.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't have any attention. Well, I didn't have insurance, so I couldn't do the high rise stuff.
Right. Okay.
But I just was set out to just clean glass, man. I said, man, I have the tools, I have the knowledge. What's stopping me except for me?
Right.
So I got on the bus. I rode my bicycle. I had my pickle bucket and my broomstick handle. And I got on the front of New Jersey Transit, and I started my first account was Trader Joe's.
Mhm.
I don't know if you heard of Trader Joe's,
Yes,
but they're
yes.
like a organic type store.
Right.
Mhm.
But back to what I was saying about the builder, he actually built the whole complex, one-story complex, and I got in with him.
Uh-huh.
And Trader Joe's was my first account based on that contract from the builder.
Uh-huh.
And I had to get that contract from the Jamaican lady because she had the insurance, which later on he had another project and called her instead of me. And she X'd me out of the deal. And I had to find out the hard way. I said, "Hey, do you have any projects going?" He says, "Yeah, I just gave you one." I said, "Oh, wow, you did?" I said, what project is this?" He said, "Yeah, I gave it to Winifred, and that's the lady's name."
Uh-huh.
So I called her up. I said, "What's going on?" He told me that he gave you a project. He said, "Oh, yeah, I've been meaning to tell you." And I said, "Oh." I says, "Okay." So after that, we parted ways, and I was doing Trader Joe's, and I couldn't keep up with it for one reason or another. Actually, I did end up getting my license, got a car, but it got repossessed. I got into an accident. My insurance was like almost $8,000 a year to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Jesus.
It was $8,000 a year to drive.
You know,
So I was just,
you know, before we get too far along here, you know who else has been, well, just up until recently, taking the bus to clean windows? The Bronow brothers. That's the way. That's the way they've been doing their thing for the last year or so. They've been public transportation and walking their routes, and I mean, you got to respect that kind of fucking hustle. I
man,
really
it's dedication.
that's dedicated, and hearing that you did it the same way, dude. That's
6 years straight.
that, dude.
I
That's
mean,
dedication,
even
man.
for the winter. You say you don't work during the winter because you for 3 months you're twiddling your thumbs. And I know on the last podcast you talking about playing some games, and you you might start to get good in playing games and all that. But man, even during the winter time, people, I mean, I kid you not, they used to look at me and say, "Man, I wouldn't want to have your job." I mean, I heard all types of stuff saying, "Wow, man, you're nuts out here sticking your hands." I mean, it was 15 degrees and actually 10 minus minus 0 degrees. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm sticking my hands in ice cold water. And you know what my answer was? I told them, I said, listen, I said, man, if I don't get out here and clean these windows, I'm going to be much colder because I'm going to be homeless.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it's cool for you to get out there and clean windows. They don't care about that.
Yeah, that's true,
You
man.
know, so that was my incentive.
Yeah, so I mean, you gotta, like I said, you gotta respect that kind of hustle. Your story is pretty awesome. But I want to
Desperation's
so back to fucking cameras steal your soul. I need to know. I need to know what is going on with that because I'm never gonna do another video podcast because of you now.
Well, for many years after I graduated high school, snap, John Wayne.
Oh my God!
And,
Who is that? That's not me, man.
It's not me.
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Must be somebody cutting in on the internet signal or something.
So. Hey, man, seriously. So I need to know. I don't know why I don't know why Richie's trying to throw a wrench in my works here. I want to know why. I want to know why the camera steals your soul because it's this fucking shit is really tripping me out.
Maybe
now,
it's
man.
just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm paranoid. I don't know.
No. I want to know because I mean, shit.
Well, back to what I was saying about the ghosts. If you watch these paranormal people and if you're into UFOs and you believe in aliens, believe it or not, cameras can capture entities that you would never see with the normal eye because of the reflective light and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. You got your aura.
There's different spectrums of light. Yes, like
right. So you got your aura. And everyone has an aura. Right. Everyone has an aura. Everyone has a chakra. Mm-hmm. And I can get into all the spiritualism and all that. Everyone has like several chakras. You got your third eye. You got your throat chakra. You got the heart. You got your stomach chakra. You got your root chakra, which is located at the base of your spine. I mean, I can go on and on.
So seriously, I'm not, I'm not playing you here at all or nothing like this because this seriously interests me. Is that seriously why you don't show your face on camera?
In so many words.
Really?
After being on TV, and back then I was still partying and carrying on. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really have a direction. I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grow up. Mm-hmm. I just happened to stumble upon window cleaning and I happened to love it and I wouldn't change it for the world. But, I actually just decided that I was never going to be on camera again because it captures your soul and it sees the person for what they really are. And it's kind of strange. It might not make sense to you.
No, man. I'm digging on it, man. This is cool, man.
You really want to see what a person is like. You take a picture of them and you look into their eyes. You can literally see their soul. If you're on a spiritual level, because at one point, I was a depressed individual, man. Like I told you, I was going to pack it up, move to Alaska. I was depressed, and I just.
I mean, was that due to? Do you think was that due to the kind of lifestyle that you were living? Like you were saying, I'm only assuming that you were like. I mean, you said you were on a TV show dancing, so it must have been like you must have been pretty good at it.
So
you must have been a decent dancer to be on TV doing it. So, and you were living a party lifestyle. So, were you just kind of living an empty life? Like the only life you were having was the party life, and you were just like.
I was living a fictitious life, something that wasn't real because I was acting out somebody who I wanted to be, and that just wasn't me. So, during high school, I was picked on, bullied, and stuff like that. So they kind of think, what was that? What's that?
Fucking Richie, man.
Dude, this shit is.
Was it Twilight Zone or is that
That was the X-Files.
the X-Files?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That's my shit.
I
That was
gotta
my show.
I gotta let you guys know, man. I kind of like this whole idea of the Bigfoot urban legend phenomenon thing. Like I mean I think that you and I were talking the other day, TJ, or last week, a couple weeks ago, about how there is like basically we think we know a lot of shit, you know.
Yeah.
But we don't know nothing. You know what I mean? Like when you think about like how small we are in the universe, really, I mean, there's just like, come on, man. Like
I think you want to know what I think? I think Bigfoot is not necessarily a hairy beast with big feetses or anything. I actually think maybe it's an interdimensional being. If it was going to be anything,
I heard
So
that.
you
because
mean he
there's-
could
'cause you don't-
teleport?
Yeah, well, essentially, travel between dimensions. I mean, that would make the only sense.
Oh, well, I believe in that. Teleportation is real, man.
But you know what I'm saying? Because if you can't find a Bigfoot body in the fucking woods, no one's ever found a Bigfeet's body in the woods. Okay, you know, all people do
That
is
we
see these
know of.
motherfuckers and then they're gone. All right,
Man,
so
trust me, I believe in that, man. I astral project and I actually travel
did you
to
just,
a
man,
a
this
different
fucking
dimension.
guy is like, dude, why did you wait so long to get on my fucking podcast, bro?
Man, hey, man, I told you, man, I had a spiritual awakening, man, and I found my true calling, and that's window cleaning. Well, I'm not going to get off into that subject because that's another podcast, but
Right.
to be honest with you, this is the reason why I am the way I am, because I realized that there's something out there that we take for granted that we don't even know about.
Right.
And we're just small potatoes, man. We're just here on borrowed time. And we're living in a vehicle, man.
Right.
I mean, none of this crap matters. We can't take just these squeegees. I mean, we could try to take them when we die. I mean, they might bury me with squeegee talking about,
you
oh,
know,
man, he can
that's-
still break
That's
the windows.
right, you know, and that's a strange thing about the way humanity is right now. Humanity is really superficial and materialistic, and they're like everyone's like kind of and you know, this is weird because I've actually been struggling with this for months now. The like facade book, that's what I call it. It's not Facebook, it's facade book. Because everyone puts up a facade, a front.
Right.
I kind of find myself like consumed by this, like, and by all accounts, my fault. It's my fault, but it's almost like we are like maybe a couple of fucking steps away from being integrated into technology, and I don't necessarily think that's a good thing because it seems like it's not a good
It's
thing.
by design.
I
It's
really
planned.
I believe it's groupthink, and when there's loss of the individual, yeah, kind of, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a part of something, but when there's loss of the individual and it's groupthink, like, you know, just case in point, the election that just happened a couple years ago between Trump and Hillary Clinton, and I'm not gonna get like why Trump won. I don't give a shit about that.
I
But
know
if
why
you
Trump
look-
won. And if you heard the explanation that I would give you, you would probably either say you're full of crap or you don't
I
believe
would
it.
like to know that, but let me finish my thought.
Uh-huh.
It's people like it's not they didn't hit the polls. It's almost like people got on Facebook they were just saying things, social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your fucking flavor is. People got on and just they wanted to join a team. It wasn't necessarily like I'm actually going to go out and vote for this broad or this fucking orange retard dude. It was more like a groupthink. You know what I'm saying? Like we are so
I hear
close
you.
to being assimilated into the system, like the fucking Matrix, man. Like no bullshit,
You
dude.
need to watch my my video based on what is social media. This will help you clarify. And maybe you already know some of these things in that video, but to be honest with you, this isn't an accident. Social media is by design, and they have these big people with these big brains that actually figured out a way to capture all the attention of the human brain to wasting most of their time through these notifications through social media, and they're designed to play on that. And
wait a minute.
and
So you're telling me that Kim Kardashian's ass is the reason why I can't get off of Facebook? Because that's what I think. Seriously,
Well,
I'm not kidding. That's, I mean, just think about it. We are dealing with times where people are famous, and people like base their lives and their decisions on these people that are famous for having sex on camera or
leave Kim alone, man.
I'm not hating on her. I'm not hating on her, bro. I'm just saying. To your point, I want to hear this Trump theory. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear why Trump got elected.
Wait a minute, man. We were talking about paranormal shit. Now we're talking about politics. I want to hear about your experience, TJ. You know, when you was doing the whole looking for like ghosts and shit. Remember that?
Yeah. I never. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh boy, Ghostbusters.
If you're gonna make a mockery of this.
No, I'm not making a mockery, man.
I've actually never, while actually trying to find or seek the paranormal, I never found it. Both of my experiences, one of them was in the home I'm living in now, and the other one was in a home I frequented. So, that's what got me in search of, you know what I mean? And actually, me and my entire family here that lives under this roof right now actually believes that one or both of my grandparents still drop by from time to time. You know what I mean? And it's usually, and this is what's that, man. I believe that. And this is what's weird. It's usually when, and you guys. And I want people, I don't, I'm not, because this was used against me in Facebook Messenger the other day. But when I first started my business, I dropped everything. My grandmother died. I was in business for like 4 or 5 months. My grandmother died. I had to move in and take care of my grandfather because I made a promise to both of them that whichever one passed away, I'd move in and take care of them. My grandparents raised me. So I moved in to take care of a 93-year-old man that was pretty much I had to do everything for. So I was running a business and taking care of him. So was my wife. It was tough. Well, starting out, it was rough because it was hard to make money. It was hard to focus on the business. And it got to the point where after my grandfather died, it was tough to get, ends to meet. So we would ask, I would take, every time I set invoices on my grandmother's urn, checks would hit the mailbox. And every time it seems like something bad or negative has happened or, there's an aura around the house like stress, things happen. You know what I mean? Like weird shit. It's usually always something good.
I think if
there's forces in nature that we can't explain because we're so caught up in our daily lives that we can't even conceive of something that's more extraordinary than what we witness on a daily basis with our normal eyes. I mean, if you look and you quiet the mind and you meditate, this is when you start to realize things. When you meditate and you close your eyes and you look with your third eye, you look on the third dimension.
Yeah, man. No, it really gets into everybody has a story, I think, like where some unexplained thing has happened to them at some point.
It's funny you mention that, because one of my customers just last week closed I lost another account, but it's because they downsized. They closed up one of their flower shops and they moved it to one of their main locations, and they started putting stuff down the stairs in the basement.
Uh-huh.
And when I was there servicing the windows, this is a true story. I actually am probably going to upload a video. I just didn't release it yet, but this is a true story that I actually was talking to the owner, and I said, "Oh, the place looks different." And he says, "Yeah, we closed." I said, "Yeah, I know. I saw the sign up there." I said, "So I'm, it's nice of you to tell me." I had to actually go there, but I mean, it was only like 5 not even 5 miles. It was like 3 or 4 miles away. But they said, yeah, we moved everything and put it downstairs in the basement. I said, yeah, well, I bet you there were some critters down there. And she says, oh yeah. She says, not only was there critters, there was someone down there. I said, wow, you mean to tell me there was someone living down there? And she says, oh yeah.
Jeez,
and she didn't.
That shit's crazy, dude.
Boy, you crazy. She said there wasn't an actual human, but she was down there and she felt something tap her on the shoulder and she heard some noises. And to this day,
man, that is some creepy shit.
She doesn't go down there anymore. And she came in the next day and the lights were on and she left with the lights off. She came back in and the lights were on in the whole place. And I was like, wow, really? And she was dead serious.
So what I mean, what do you think it was just where your life was at that set you down this spiritual path of enlightenment, kind of inner enlightenment, to where you started looking at things at like at a different level? You know what I mean?
Well, I ascended into a higher realm because that I was living on, it just wasn't working out. Like I said, after high school, I mean, I was picked on, I was bullied, and I was going to commit suicide. And I tried anything to keep my mind off of it. And this is why I started going to clubs and partying and hanging out with my peers. You are who your peers are.
Right.
But I realized that wasn't the way to go. So
dude, that's
I actually started,
trip, Marcus.
Yeah, I started meditating, and I had an awakening, man. I kid you not. And when I have a life altering experience, when I did drive and I had my license, I was accident prone. I was like my mother. I had gotten in so many accidents, and to this day, I don't even know how I'm still living. But I actually had so many accidents that I just keep getting. I mean, I must have ran up my 9 lives. I mean, I'm serious. Man,
do you drive now?
Huh?
Do you drive now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I drive now. I mean, like they say, it's a privilege, not a right. So, right. You know, in my area, I don't know how it is in your area, but minorities, I mean, we can't keep a license. I mean, you know, it's like one of those things where
I wouldn't know. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have that type of, like you were saying earlier. You probably didn't. That was in the 10 minutes we recorded and lost, but you were saying that when you went to get your HVAC job, you were finding it hard to get a job because of the color of your skin.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So,
and that's just it.
I've seen those shows on television where everyone is waiting at the impound lot in Philadelphia to get their car back, and it's like 99% Hispanic and black people. So, you know what I mean? I think there might be something to that. You know what I mean? There's, unfortunately, there's an undertone still in America that way. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate.
Needless to say, I mean, I wasn't a church going person.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I was saved. I was raised as a Catholic and all that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I was told not to have sex before marriage, but that went out the door.
Right.
But
church ain't such a bad thing, man. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richie Blue. Welcome to the Richie Blue Show, guys.
Yeah, dude.
You're gonna get me kicked off of YouTube for playing copyrighted materials.
What copyright?
That shit you're playing.
Dude, this was from the Blues Brothers, man.
Yeah, I know.
Remember the church scene with James Brown? Yeah. All right, sorry, man. I was going off there, man. You started talking about church, man. Whenever I think of church, that's what I think of is that Blues Brothers scene with that.
Well, I'm not a church-going person, but I like to think I'm a spiritual person. And what happened was I had a spiritual awakening after God gave me a second chance. Well, I would like to think it's a second chance. because after
That's all he gave you is 2 chances, man. Shit, I've gotten like at least 200.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about two of them that maybe changed the course of the way I was living my life, basically. And after being in the car that flipped over 3 times and lived to walk away without a scratch, I mean, that's heard of. I didn't even have my seatbelt on. So if an angel wasn't on my shoulders then, you know, and after doing AAA, I was roadside assistance. I was breaking into cars. You know, I did roadside assistance for 2 or 3 years. And I was a part-timer. I was doing the Kevin thing. You know, I was a part-time, and I was doing windows on the weekends and things of that nature. But I was working for AAA doing roadside, and I actually fell asleep because I was doing windows. I was burning both ends of the candles. I had 3 jobs. Jeez. I was working at McDonald's. I was doing roadside, and I was cleaning windows. And I was able to take the car home that I was doing roadside with. So he knew this. So
that must have been the time when you weren't using wagtail, because if you were using wagtail, you would have had enough sleep.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was using wagtail then. I just was going to clubs. I was going to clubs, working 3 jobs, and doing all that.
So were you popping and locking? Is that the type of dancing you were doing?
I was doing capoeira.
Really?
Yeah, I trained capoeira for 3 years.
The guy is all over the place, bro.
I incorporated that into a dance scene, and actually, I can't take credit, but I would like to. But my teacher was taught by the mestre, they call him, from Brazil, and he told me that there was going to be a movie called Only the Strong. This is before it even came out. He said there was going to be a movie on this called Only the Strong. Back then I was taking Kung Fu. I was probably about 13 or 14 years old. I didn't want to learn how to dance because I thought it as a dance. And yes, it is disguised as a dance. But I said, I don't want to learn how to dance. I want to learn how to fight. And he says, just give it a chance. Just try it out. So I says, okay. So once they started playing the Congo drums and the berimbau, and all these other instruments, the bongos, and I said, oh, man, this sounds like something I could take to the club and do my thing.
Yeah.
So,
I knew that shit was coming, bro. I mean, I was going to call it before it even started. I knew that was getting ready to happen.
Richie, man. These things like that.
Jesus. I'm gonna hire Richie to do sound effects on all my podcasts.
Things at will like that. I mean, he's pretty snappy with that.
Yeah, he's pretty snappy with that. Yeah, dude. I tell you what, man. I don't think. I honestly don't think that when going into this, I thought, well, you know, maybe we're gonna hit some wagtail. We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about that. Marcus is
maybe
gonna
that's
be
for
like,
another podcast.
Marcus is going to be like, man, I don't get on camera because I don't like the way my nose matches my face, you know what I mean? Or my ears are too big, or I got a really bad hairline or something. And this motherfucker's like,
but to be honest,
I don't get on camera because I feel like the camera's going to steal my soul. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's some aberration shit. Yeah,
that shit's crazy.
To be honest with you, it's not about what you see, it's about what you hear. And you know, if you don't like seeing the ground, if you don't like seeing the sky, if you don't like seeing the birds and the planes and whatever else I'm showing, people criticize me saying my videos are shaky and things of that nature. Well, shoot, I don't care. Black out the screen, just listen to my voice. I don't care.
Right.
But it's not always about what you see, it's about a message that I'm trying to express to y'all. And it's the reason why I do things, and maybe it's a little unconventional, but hey, you got to be special, man. Sometimes you got to do things to make yourself stand out. You do things different. You don't do what people...
you can't be a conformist, you know,
because
everything that everyone else is doing. There's already enough Lukes and Steve-O's and Fluff Daddies, and, you know, I'm just saying, honestly, there's enough of that going on right now. To where,
man,
like,
I call hell from those two, man. I mean, Steve will call me a racist and told me that I called him a KKK Klan member and all this stuff. And he just blew it out of proportion. I mean, then I had Travman on my ass, and he hacked in my account and put his info on my banner and locked me out of my account. I had to go to copyright school. I mean, I had to delete hundreds of videos. I mean, I had to start over from scratch, you know.
Wow.
But
so what happened to you? What happened to you, or happened to Tim? Actually, happened to you first, huh?
Man,
Marcus is a trailblazer, man.
Half of it, man.
Dude,
I mean,
crazy,
I can tell you private messages that actually called me on the phone. I didn't even give him the satisfaction. I didn't even answer the phone. Eric Bland had called me up and said, don't answer the phone, because he called him up trying to record him and tape him and doing all this stuff. I said, all right, well, you know, he says, hey, bud, it's Luke. I just wanted to call and talk. I said, no, you don't. You don't want to call and talk. You just want to call and pick my brain and just, you know, just criticize me.
Right. Well,
so he says,
I can tell you from what went on with Tim, and the shit that Tim went through, that that Luke dude he's a special character. He's different. He's definitely different. He's on camera. One guy, that House Call Pro ad. I mean, shit. I mean, that's not the dude I heard, in those voice messages. I mean, it's just completely different guy.
Well, you know what's funny about it? I followed him in the beginning, and he actually commented, and I was happy that he did. And you know, I kind of respected what he did, but somewhere along the line, man, his soul got lost. It got enveloped. I mean, something took over his soul, and he just wasn't the same sense, man. Maybe it's that camera, man. That's why I told you, man. When you camera,
Look, man, the camera stole your soul, bro.
So it's safe to say, Marcus, that
you call it superstitious, you call it what you will, man. I'm telling you, man. When people get in front of the camera, they don't know how to act, man. They just lose themselves, man. They think, oh, man, I got an audience watching me now. I'm just going to act a fool, you know, whatever the case is, you know. But I never forget where I came from, and I don't let none of that mess with me, you know. Being in the camera and all that stuff, man, you know.
You think that's superstitious?
Man, just the same thing as Bigfoot, you know. Same thing as Friday the 13th. You know, I know people's birthday is on Friday the 13th, and you know, some people say, "Oh man, that's bad luck. It's superstitious." And some buildings don't even have the 13th floor. They skip the 13th floor and go right to the 14th floor. You know, and I'm serious.
Yeah. Yeah, there are buildings like that. They skip a 13th floor.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Richie.
Because they got some weird belief system about something. Yeah. You know what I mean? What? Okay, man. I'm just having fun.
Once after I astral projected into a different realm, and y'all can laugh and say, "Oh man, he must be on drugs or whatever." I mean,
no, you're just introspective. You're an introspective individual. I mean, a lot, and I respect that about you. And I am too. And I think the difference between you and like guys like us, and some people are just afraid to talk about that stuff.
See, this is what
they might be ridiculed or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well,
this is what made me.
What I find interesting is this. Before you get going there, Marcus, what I find interesting is that this isn't just like, you know, something. I mean, this is like enveloped your entire life. Like you've built your life around this experience, essentially. You know what I mean? And your beliefs, your window cleaning, everything. Even your videos, this carries over into that. Even if it's inconspicuous, no one would know. They'll draw their own conclusions on why you're never on camera. But the reason why is that. That's man, that's
right.
Stand up.
Well, you hit a crossroads, and you had to look hard at yourself, and you know, make some decisions, man.
Well, I had a lot of people not in my corner. You know, I had the Jewish guy that I used to work for after leaving my manager job for High Rise. He told me that I couldn't do it. So I had him against me. I had my mother against me, telling me, that I need to stop spinning my wheels and quit and get a real job, And I said, wow. I said, my mother's not even supporting me. I said, this is something that I want to do. So I made the decision and I just decided to plan and do it. And I'm happy that I did it, And now she supports me now. That she no longer thinks that I'm spinning my wheels,
Well, you got a track record now. I mean, you got a history. I mean, some people say, well, I'm going to do this, and then they never do nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, I realized that the mind is very powerful, and it could put the most sophisticated computer to shame. Because after all, these computers
maybe some minds, not my mind. My mind is not that sophisticated, man. But I hear what you're saying.
Gunslinger, so I mean, shoot,
that was purely by accident, man. I accidentally made Gunslinger, right?
Well, let's say somebody must be pushing you in the right direction, because somebody's looking out for you in order to have a good product like that, No,
I'll tell you who actually gave me the idea for Gunslinger. It was happened about 30 some years ago when I first started cleaning windows. I talked to you about this, TJ, when one time, I don't know if we were talking on a podcast or whatever, but my friend Steve that started me cleaning windows, he used to make leather holsters and sew them himself and brand them and shit like that. That's where that whole idea got hatched, man. I was like, but that was like 30 years ago. I guess you would call me a procrastinator, whatever, But I mean, it's amazing, like what'll happen to somebody, like when you're a kid and stuff or whatever. Like when the Wright brothers, the whole reason why they came up with the airplane is this: they were Orville and Wilbur. They were like 7 and 11 years old, something like that. And their dad was like a tent preacher or something. He used to go around and preach. And so he was on tour. He met this guy named Alphonse. He was a French aeronautical pioneer or something like that, and he made this little paper out of rubber bands and bamboo and paper, and you know how you spin the pencils with the propellers on them and shit. It was something like that, but it was a little bit more sophisticated, right? And so he had this toy that would fly, and so he gave it to Wilbur and Orville's dad, the preacher dude, and when he came home, he gave it to them. And they started playing with it, and that's where they hatched the whole idea for the airplane.
Well, if that ain't a prime example, example of something, other than what we perceive. It takes a nutty person to think outside the box to get stuff done, and that's goes to show you that if you think for a moment that there's nothing beyond what we see, that's just plain ignorance. Because the universe is vast, I mean, technology is far beyond what we can even conceive of. It's just not ready for us to learn about it, and they let the few selective know about this. And like I said, man, this is all upon the divine. I mean, call it what you will. Call it the New World Order. I mean, that's another topic, but I mean, it's supposed to happen 2018, and they're using Trump to do that because Trump is not technically a politician. I mean, God bless anyone in America who could become a politician, and become the president of the United States with no political experience. I mean, that's outstanding.
Ronald Reagan was an actor.
I'd like to point out that Ohio was first in flight.
And the Bush administration and Clinton administration, they're part of Skull and Bones. And if you do enough research, you'll see what I'm talking about. Man, I could tie this down to the Masons and the Illuminati and all that stuff. Things that's been going on behind the sidelines, and the people that really control America, the people that really push the buttons, you don't hear about these people. You don't even see these people. These people exist. And the people, the idea is that whoever controls the gold controls the world. And the only reason why they allowed America to print money, this dates back to Abe Lincoln. All right. When they called the money the greenback, do your research. Yeah. When they called the money the greenback, this is when it was green on one side and a different color. Actually, there was 7 black presidents before Obama. and I know you don't know this. I didn't even know this. Okay, there was a president before Abe Lincoln. No, before George Washington, who in 1877, I think it was, they classified him as the official first president of the United States. But there was a black president before him who was appointed, and he served 1 year of term. And he
why isn't any of this recorded in any history books?
It's in history, man, but it's been lost. If you want me to send you the links, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'll have to see these links. You'll have to send them.
Okay, so check this out. This guy actually, in his 1 year of term of service, he did more than his George Washington did in his years of service. He bought boots for these prisoners because once they found out that they didn't have any money, he had the point. I think he gave up like 400 pounds of silver, I think it was, to get all the troops, shoes and stuff. But despite all that, there was several. Huh?
Marcus, I need to see links to this fucking. Hey man, you had me with the spirituality, and then like the fucking like the president before the president.
Oh yeah.
I need to know. You need to send me this shit. Hey, when you brought up the Freemasons, my grandfather was a Freemason, and that entailed him going.
They were the start of it, and
my grandfather was a 32nd degree Freemason.
The Illuminati is a spinoff of the Freemasons. I could send you all the links to that and all that stuff.
Well, I can tell you, if you've seen my bookcase, you know what, Marcus, when we're done here, I'm going to send you a picture in Facebook Messenger of my bookcase, and maybe me and you can connect on a different level. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want you to think. I don't want you to think that I'm making slight of what you're saying. I would like to see your. I want you to cite your sources, sir.
I want you to see is the reason why I am the way I am, because my eyes is wide open, man. I don't view the world as I view it before, because there's a lot of fakers out there. There's a lot of people who put on a show,
right?
And the devil disguised himself in many ways, and social media is one of them. I mean, you talk about the news, show business. I mean,
well, if you just apply that to our little niche of window cleaning, if you just apply that to what we do and the personalities that are involved in our community, the things that some people will do for notoriety or acceptance is staggering to me. You know what I'm saying? Like the flip floppy, like
that's all because of the Klan.
Cool. The what?
The Klan.
The Klan.
Like Steve-O called me. I don't know what he called me, but I called him a Klan member, and he must have lost it. He said, "Oh, my girlfriend's black and this and that," and I mean, he lost it, man. I mean,
well, you didn't mean the Klan necessarily, like the historical Klan.
No,
you mean
said he's part of that. He's part of that club, man. He's part of that Klan, and believe it or not, they don't. They're like kind of like in denial, so to speak. And when you put them on the spot, they'll defend themselves to the end.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's strange. It's strange that everyone used to be cool. It wasn't very. I mean, look. I mean, Tim and Luke and Rihanna. They were in videos wearing outlaw window cleaner t-shirts, and now they can't even, you know what I mean? They can't speak to each other, and it's all
because
over.
It's the money.
Yeah,
it's the money.
Yeah. So
it changes a person,
which is leading me to my next question. You have, you're like, I'm on this. I had a spiritual awakening. Does that affect? Do you chase the money? I mean, because when I spoke to you, you said you were doing all you could to make sure to catch up servicing your customers. Do you feel that with your spiritual beliefs and the way you're trying to live your life, do you feel that chasing that dollar cleaning windows, does that affect that in any way? I mean, do you think you're sliding yourself for chasing the money?
No, to be honest with you, if I told you I have never raised my price in all of the years I have cleaned windows, you probably wouldn't even believe me.
Oh, I would believe you because I've got customers I've had for 10 years and they've paid the same price this whole time. So that's not necessarily. I mean, I've increased my price now. If I bid a house the same way that I did 10 years ago, um, it's higher now than it used to be. You know what I mean? I charge more than I used to, but the people that have been my customers all these years, I've never
Oh
raised
yeah,
the prices.
I raised the bar.
Yeah, you raised the
Yeah,
bar,
I raised the
but
bar from
the
when I
bar that
first
you
started.
set, the bar you set before, you're not greedy with. You're not like, I don't need to take more money
Oh
from this
heck
person.
no,
Yeah,
man!
that's the way
Like
to
I
do it.
said, man, I'm not trying to get rich. I'm just trying to earn an honest living.
And live
there's
life
a
in a
difference.
righteous way. You're
There's a
trying to live a
difference, man.
righteous
And
life. I think that's what we're all doing. That's what Richie's trying
God
to do,
provides for me
right?
for what I lack for, the things that I want. He provides for me in other ways. Like in instance, I told you I lost 4 accounts.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to tell you he already placed them ASAP.
Hmm.
And I don't want to, this is a lengthy conversation because I don't want to just tell you how this came about because it's a long conversation, but needless to say, the problem's been rectified.
Right.
And I don't never have to worry about nothing. When I lose an account, I don't get worried. I mean, some people get bent out of shape. They might even want to go off the deep end. But I don't never go off the deep end or worry about these things because I don't even have to physically go out and try to replace it. It just comes naturally. And that's because
I tell you what, man, just from my personal experience, I recently lost a customer, and I'm a big believer in karma, and I just approached it with the situation.
hell yeah.
I was like, listen, I don't want to lose you as a customer, but if you're unhappy and you want to have someone else, that's cool, but don't be afraid to call me and I'll take care of it. And if they don't show up or they give you an excuse why they can't do it, give me a call and I'll drop what I'm doing and I'll come take care of it for you. And it wasn't the next day. I did 3 bids that morning before when I lost this customer. I did 3 bids. I got all 3 jobs, and two of them as soon as we got done, they scheduled for fucking October. They already on the schedule for a second cleaning. So, what the universe takes, it also will give you. I'm not so much on the biblical God type of person.
Well, neither am I.
You know what I mean? I'm more of there's a master architect up there somewhere. I don't think we're quite as big as we think we are. I think we're more like in a petri dish.
Man, God made us in His image, so God made us as co-creators within our own universe. So that means He gave us the ability to create whatever we design for ourselves. That means we have the power to do whatever we want to do, and we can achieve.
Right. Well, essentially, we're all energy, anyways. If you think about it, we're all atoms moving constantly. So
And that's right.
So it's much more easier to apply the God concept to energy, like the universe. You know what I'm saying? Richie's just showing us his hairline now. Who are you talking to, Richie?
Perry Tate.
About what?
We're talking about plastic compositions in plastics.
Great. I'm glad to have you.
Sorry, man. I just
I'm messing with you.
Well, no,
I knew something. I knew something was amiss because there was no sound effects playing. I figured that either the Star Wars theme was going to start playing or the theme to Star Trek. One of the two. I wasn't sure. But as a segue here, I know before we keep going here, and just to break this up,
I just wanted to note that I lost 80 commercial accounts, and you think I was grossing
all at the same time?
All at the same time?
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
So they were all the same account.
And this account I got on Bicycle, I did my first account for $35. They had 150 windows. I did it in and out. This was a auto shop. All right. They have about 6 bays, and each had about 20 or 25 windows per bay. So this is how I got my foot in the door. And I got in on the ground up. And he was so pleased he got on the horn and called the next town over and then the next town over. So I met the general manager who was in charge of 30 stores during the shore points. So he says, can you go and clean them? I was on bicycle. I didn't know how to tell him how could I go and do that? I said, man, I went on Craigslist. I hired a guy who had a vehicle. And I said, listen, I'm going to pay you cash for the day. And we went on here and did that. Don't you think that I went on Google and I looked to see what other remaining stores they had once I found out they had 350 locations and throughout the tri-state area, New York, Delaware, and New Jersey. So they were all within the vicinity. So I built a route for myself. So what I did was I started slowly pitching over the phone and I gave them a flat rate. And I started getting a motel. At first, I was driving back and forth, but that was just ludicrous. I was putting on 3,000 miles a month. It was insane. I was spending so much money in gas. So then I said, you know what? Why don't I just spend $70 for a motel and I don't have to go anywhere, and I could just wake up and start early and do several stores in a day. I was making about $500 or $600 a day at that point. And I was paying my help $100 a day plus, tolls and gas.
Right.
And lunch. You were buying them lunch too, probably, huh?
Right.
Exactly.
Dude, that's crazy.
Right. So the company got taken over after 3 or 4 years of doing this. Without a moment's notice, I noticed that my checks were slowly starting to drag. So I knew that there was a transition going on, so I said, okay, well, maybe it's just they're trying to get their paperwork in order and all this stuff. So
corporate, man. Corporate sucks.
Yeah, corporate, right. So needless to say, they decided they wanted to try to do it in-house. And that only lasted for a short amount of time. And then when the person in charge of facilities management left the company, I don't know if he got fired or he just left. Someone else that went in their place, somehow my paperwork got lost. They owe me $6,000, and I didn't see this money for 6 months. And I just was going back and forth, sending emails, trying to get paid. I mean, eventually I got paid, but needless to say, I was up shit.
Yeah, you lost all those jobs.
Yeah. So guess what I did?
What'd you do? So what'd you do after you lost the jobs?
Man, I got on my bicycle and I hoofed it, even through the winter. For 2 years straight, I built up my route for myself, and I started targeting firestones, and I paved my way. I got about 30 firestones, and I started doing that. And needless to say, they started lagging on the payment, so I cut them. And then I started doing with another district over in PA. I'm still doing them to this day. But eventually, I might go back to enhancing that.
Well,
but I know the vice president of the company, all that stuff, man. I know all these guys because I've been dealing.
We need to take a short pause here, guys. So if you guys could just bear with me, this is a Bigfoot moment with T Squeegee. A big break Bigfoot. An investigator claims he has proof legendary monster is hiding out in a Scottish forest. Robert Shanklin, 56, has shared snaps of what he claims is a 14-inch footprint left by the giant creature in Dumfries and Galloway. Part-time laborer and gardener Robert Shanklin has shared snaps of what he claims is a 14-inch footprint left by the giant creature. The 56-year-old has spent 2 years hunting for evidence of a bipedal hominid creature in Galloway Forest Park, which spans 300 square miles. As well as pictures of the footprint, Robert from Burnside, Lancashire, reckons another image could show the creature staring at him from the trees. Scotland already has a Bigfoot legend in the shape of the Scottish wild man. I am Fear Leath Mo in Gaelic. Oh, I don't know, which haunts the summit of Ben Macdui, guys. What's Macadui? The highest peak in the Carnarvons. Robert's theory is the Galloway creature could be a relative and may even use green corridor of the woods to travel between the southwest of Scotland and the Cairngorms, whatever the fuck that is. Speaking today, Robert said he started researching after he heard Charmaine Fraser, part of the British Bigfoot research team, speak at a conference in Glasgow 2 years ago. He said she saw the creature as a child, and I started to think about it. I decided to see what I could find in my local area and didn't expect to find anything at all. I couldn't believe it when I came across the footprint. New Galloway and the surrounding area is a green corridor. If you look at it on the map, it's a huge space of wilderness. Maybe the creature is traveling through on the way up to the Highlands. Robert's photographs show a large footprint-shaped marked outline in gravel near Corson Cone in Craig Douliart Forest, New Cumnock. Oh, geez, these words.
Man, I think it's probably the same beast.
These Scottish words are really hard to pronounce. Using a 4-inch long phone scale, the footprint is at least 14 inches long and 7 inches wide. He also highlighted parts on the creature that he believes are pressure points on the ground and show the curve of its heel. Speaking about his encounter with the beast, Robert said, I actually didn't realize it was there until I got home and looked at the pictures. I just noticed this thing in the background and zoomed in. I don't know what it was, but it was absolutely something. The keen monster hunter believes Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is a feral offshoot of a human around 6.5 foot to maybe 7 foot tall and 4 foot across the shoulders, he said. There have been multiple reports of sightings across the country. I sent the pictures to the British Bigfoot sighting reports, and they were very excited. We're still looking for absolute proof. Wow, man. My own research is based solely on a blood type of being at the moment, a flesh and blood type of human being at the moment, whatever. However, some sightings suggest that it acts in a way out with normal reality. One of the most, I'm telling you, man, interdimensional, bro. One of the most common suggestions.
Probably teleport, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude. One of the most common suggestions is what we are dealing with is a humanoid ancestor from the distant past, a sort of prehistoric cousin of which has managed to survive and still survive up until the present day. How? Nobody quite knows.
That's just like roaches, man. They can survive a nuclear holocaust.
Right. No one will ever know for sure until definitive proof of its existence is found. We told earlier how footprints left by the giant dinosaurs that were the largest creatures to roam the earth have been covered on a Scottish island. The prehistoric fossils track of sauropods, which lived 170 million years ago, are thought to have been discovered in a lagoon on Skye. It comes as international research teams. Oh, wait a minute. Dude, we almost went into a Loch Ness moment there. We can't have that. We can't have that. But yeah, that was a Bigfoot moment with T Squeegee. So, I want to know, Marcus, do you still use your guns? Do you use your gunslinger every day, or do you have one?
Oh man, absolutely, man. Man, I stick and move with that thing. Man, look. Hey, check this out. Every time I pull up to a job, even if it's I might sometimes I'll work in the middle of the night. Like I said, sometimes since I fired my help, I'll be sleeping in the car sometimes. I'll rest for 3 hours and then I'll keep pushing forward. But when I come and I backtrack to do the insides, like on my route work, I mean, I got 5 guys. Sometimes it might take me, it used to take me 15 minutes. Now it takes me 7 minutes. Now that I got them strips, because with the exception of those soiled areas that I have to scrub with the fingerprints with the kids running up and everything, but that's the only thing that holds me back. But I put my gunslinger on just for that alone. I'm just used to it, man. It just because I don't feel comfortable not putting it on to have it holstered. Like I said, my back pocket was my gunslinger for many years. And see, I'm from the old school. But I got tired of poking my ass. Sometimes I would sit down in the car and forget the squeegee be in my pocket. Even my little ledger. Right. The 6-inch squeegee, I'll just slip it in my back pocket sometimes and I'll forget about it, and I'll sit down. And I said, "What the heck is poking
Well,
my
I'll tell
ass?"
you what. I had I worked the guy that I worked with when I first started out. He was an old school bosun's chair guy, high rise guy, and he would go up his piece ladder. We had wooden piece ladders. He'd go up his piece ladder with a fucking T-bar washer soaking, dripping in his back pocket, and his in front pocket he would have his squeegee.
Yeah, I used to do the same thing.
And he'd go up there and he'd have a wet sponge in one hand and a towel over his shoulder, and the dude was a beast, man. He'd use that one towel all fucking day long, dude. He was a beast, man.
But I used to hate those wooden pieces, man.
Oh yeah,
coming down. I used to get splinters in my hands, something fierce. I used to hate that, man.
Yeah, dude. And they were heavy sons of bitches too, man.
Oh boy, were they heavy? Oh my God, yo, you talk about heavy, man. Hey, as a ladder guy, and now you won't catch me on a ladder, but I don't know if, well, none of y'all know. But I used to work with 60 and 50-foot ladders, and when I'm on like the third or fourth floor, I used to have it all the way extended. Normally, most people would collapse it and move it over to the next. Like if they had to go around to the side of
you got to pick that bitch up standing up and just walk it.
Man, I used to pick that thing all the way fully extended and juggle that thing like I was on a circus show. And
I don't know. They outlawed picks. You guys know what picks are, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I used to be on picks a lot.
So we used to do picks on 40, 50-foot ladders, whatever, 60-foot ladders, and run picks on them. You know, set up two of them and run a fucking pick.
Right.
Oh man, dude, I think about that shit, and I'm thinking like, I'm surprised I'm still alive, man. You know what I mean? They outlawed picks out here.
Did you ever use a pump jack, like the ladder jacks, where they would you got two 4x4 posts and you'd set a pick across it, and then it would sit on these things, and you'd foot crank it up the 4x4 post. You'd pump it. One guy would be on one side and one guy would be on the other side, and you'd pump with your foot together, and it would creep the pick up the 4x4 post. That's how we used to side houses
to level it out, right?
Yeah. I don't remember.
No, I never used that, but I used crab legs. But that's different.
Right. Hey, I've been a part of all kinds of sketchy shit. I did some sketchy stuff yesterday on a ladder. I didn't put on video. I was afraid people would criticize me.
Man,
dude, you can't do that.
Ladder. I was a daredevil, man, and because, like I told y'all, I used to run the streets and go to the clubs. When they used to send me on commercial jobs, I had to do pieces. Sometimes I had to do 40-foot and 50-foot ladder work. Rather than go all the way down to move over to the next set of windows, I would stay up there on that ledge. And what I would do is I would plant my feet and I would hold both of my hands on the top rungs. And I would just put my body weight and lean my back towards the wall. And I would slowly just move my feet over to the next set of windows while the guy at the bottom lift the ladder up and move it over. And I would say, do not pull this ladder away from the building, because that would spell disaster. I would die, and I'm 40 stories up. So I said, listen, do you want to get done early? I said, well, listen to me now and follow my lead. I said, when I go over to the next set of windows, what I want you to do is lift the ladder up. Do not pull it towards you. Just lift it up and just walk towards the right. Just lift it up and walk towards the right to the next set of windows. And I would hold on to the top, and I would put the ladder was heavy. I mean, if you ever use 50 and 60-foot ladders,
big ass fucking ladders, man. That shit's heavy, dude.
Forget about it, dude.
Planet, keep my back rested against the building. The ledge was maybe about 4 or 5 inches, and it was just enough for my feet to fit on.
Marcus is a spiritual fucking sketchy motherfucker. Hey, this is what I don't understand. This is what I don't understand. A lot of people are gonna be like, this motherfucker's afraid of heights, but he's standing on ledges and moving 60-foot ladders like a yum yum. You know what I mean? Was it? I just can't wrap my head around the need for. I mean, you're just like, dude, I'm so
I got
tired
over
from
my fear of heights. That's what happened.
Oh, okay.
You know, after it, this was. I mean, he put me on ladders. Well, no, I'm sorry. No, that's false. He put me on a roof, pushing a guy on the rig and getting me used to.
Did we just lose Marcus?
Dude, there's no way we just lost Marcus. What are we going to do? Who's going to talk if Marcus isn't here?
Oh, Marcus. He probably lost his battery probably died.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we might have lost Marcus Bay, but we're about an hour and 40 minutes in, so I was trying to round this out, but yeah, Marcus Bay left. I think his battery died. That was interesting podcast there. Marcus is a very interesting individual. I am glad that this happened. Not for any other reason. Not I'm not hating on Marcus at all. This conversation makes me like Marcus a lot more than I did before. I already liked Marcus a lot, but sitting here talking to him and getting to pick his brain a little bit, this dude is a fucking gem, man. This dude is a gem, and I cannot wait to delve deeper into that cavern that is Marcus Bay. You know what I mean? That dude is he is everything you said he was. You're like, dude, this is gonna be epic. I'm like, well, all right. You're like, no, dude. What I'm saying, he's gonna talk a lot, and we're gonna have to interrupt him to get him to stop. I was like, nah. That guy, he can go, dude. So
but Marcus is a super interesting guy, and the beautiful thing about it is like we just touched little areas of like all that stuff we talked about tonight. Marcus, nobody knows about any of that. I mean, some of that stuff I never even heard of before. You know what I mean? Like he's just a gem. He's got a lot of information.
I tell you what, right now, he just added to the mystique even more with the. I used to dance on television and shit like that, and then I just decided I'm not gonna be on camera no more, and because I feel like it takes something from your soul, and I'm just like, wait a minute, you used to dance on camera, Marcus? You know what I'm saying, dude? How? Yeah. I mean, the people that you meet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I met a guy. He through another guy that I thought was kind of little weird at first, and then I talked to him on the phone, and then I got to know him a little better, and then I started taking his product out, and we started doing YouTube videos, and then my buddy lost his channel, so it was up to me to make YouTube videos about it. And then I come to find out that this dude's a bluesman and an inventor and a believer in Bigfoot, and and now I've got me a cool ass buddy that I get to talk to on a daily basis named Richie, and now I've met this guy Marcus that is like Captain Conspiracy, and I just want to talk to him for hours about fucking the president before the president. You know what I mean?
Marcus, Marcus goes off, man. He goes off.
Absolutely.
But we got some of it got cut out when we were doing that first 10 minutes when Marcus was talking about how he got started on the genie ropes, doing the bosun's chairs and stuff. Oh, look he's back.
He's back.
Hello?
Hello, what happened?
Hey, Mark.
Did your battery die?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We were just talking about you, Marcus.
Oh, yeah, Panera Bread closed up shop and kicked me out, so I think they must have cut off their Wi-Fi.
That's how they get everybody out. They turn the Wi-Fi off.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I'm the last person to leave.
Yeah, well, we were just putting a cap on the podcast here because we've been at it for almost 2 hours, so...
really?
Yeah, we were just talking. Richie was just talking about that first 10 minutes of the podcast, how you got started in the genie chair work, and then you popped in. And I would like, Richie, could you finish what you were saying there?
Well, I was just saying that Marcus said a lot of stuff in that first 10 minutes about how he got started on doing the ropes and stuff, and it was really good insight. In fact, I hope Mark Tanner listens to this, because I'm sure he'll relate a lot to what Marcus was saying, even though it's not recorded now. But maybe next time Marcus comes on, you can get it. You can talk more about that, Marcus, because that was interesting. I was having a good time listening.
Which part were you referring? I forget.
The whole story, right from the beginning, how you got started on window cleaning, and basically your first job was going on doing 10-story buildings on a bosun's chair, and how you were afraid of heights, and how you started off, pushing.
Basically, what he did, he didn't even have me clean windows. All he did was put me in a chair and have me just drop. That's all he did, and I did. Yeah. I did it about 5 times. That's it.
Well, I think Mark pretty much kind of related that same kind of thing when he was talking about when he was training a guy, when he trains a guy, or trained guys before for high-rise work, that they would go down together and they would just do drops. You know what I mean?
Right.
Until they got comfortable.
Without cleaning windows.
Right, without cleaning windows. That's what Mark said he would do, is he would take him down, and he would watch Mark clean windows, you know what I mean? And he would get him used to sit.
That's the proper way to train somebody.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Hey man, that's kick ass. I tell you what, Marcus, you're gonna get a picture of my bookcase later, so you can finally realize that I'm part of the Freak Club with you. And I'm also Captain Conspiracy. Me and you we can form a tag team and be world champions of conspiracies together. Maybe we can start a YouTube channel where me and Marcus just talk about conspiracies all day. That would be awesome.
I gotta tell you, if you ever listen to 1260 AM channel called Art Bell.
Oh yeah, come on. What are we talking about here? Come on, dude. Of course, I've listened to Coast to Coast, sir. What is wrong with you?
Oh, Coast to Coast. Oh, you know about Coast to Coast?
Yeah, dude. Come on, bro.
Yeah,
hey man, I got a first printing. Hey man, listen. I got no. You let me. Let's see how deep you are here. I have I got a first edition of Dark Mission written by Richard Hoagland. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking? Yeah. All right. You see how deep it goes, sir.
Yeah. Have you heard about Mel's Hole?
Yes, man. Come on, bro. Come on, man. Hey, man. This is me and Richie have a couple of. Richie's like, dude. We started talking one night on WeChat, and Richie's like, man, we gotta I just want to hit you up on video chat so we could just talk about this kind of stuff. He goes, this stuff is super interesting to me, and I'm like, dude. I was kind of afraid to let anybody know. You know what I mean? I'm kind of into that.
Call it what you will, be afraid, or whatever the case may be. But this shit is real. It exists.
There's some shit out there that's definitely not mainstream. That's based in some very hard science. In fact, it's unfortunately, guys, it's real. The moon is hollow, man. It's a fucking spaceship. It was drug here. I'm telling you guys, it's hollow. The moon was drug here. I mean, if the moon was not in the exact position that the moon is in right now, life as we know it would not exist on Earth. There would be no tides, and there would be no fucking Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of shit that there would not be without the moon being in the perfect position that it's in right now. I mean,
everything is by divine purpose.
Yep. Everything is there for a reason, guys. And with that said, I would like to thank Richie and Marcus Bay for coming on and being part of the 27th podcast that I've done.
Hey, wait a minute, man. Before you close out, I wanted to put a plug in for the YouTube channel called Thinker Thunker.
Thinker
Thunker. And I would suggest anybody that's interested in finding out if the Bigfoot is real or not, that's a great YouTube channel. The guy is very pragmatic and scientific about how he.
You guys got to check it out for sure.
You should watch some. He's entertaining too.
I bet you. Everyone was thinking that maybe you were getting ready to plug Gunslinger or something. You know what I mean?
You know about that Thinker Thumper, TJ?
No, I'm going to
Thinker
watch
Thunker?
when I get off of here. And I upload this to iTunes and Podbean, and then start the upload to YouTube, which always takes fucking forever.
Podbean.
That
That was the other thing. I was trying to remember that.
Podbean. Yes.
What was the other thing you had?
iTunes, Podbean, and YouTube. That's the 3 locations to view the podcast.
I never hear people talk about Podbean. I never experienced that. So
Podbean is essentially a podcasting hosting website, and it's an app that you can get on Apple and Android. So Android users can also listen to the audio version of the podcast. You know what I mean?
Okay, great. Because I suck at that computer.
You just download Podbean to your phone, and then you look for Outlaw OWC Radio, and there you go, man. Download, subscribe, and they'll automatically download when a new episode comes up. You guys can get on there and rate us and review us on iTunes or Podbean. And that helps other people, other window cleaners, people that search for stuff like that, find the podcast. And you could leave a review and we'll read it on the podcast. You can send an email to asktsqueegee@yahoo.com and we'll read it on the air. Kind of like how I stumble through those fucking Bigfoot moments with T Squeegee. You know. And you can go to www.outlawwindowcleaner.com, get you some black diamond squeegee rubber, maybe a legend channel. There you go. There's the link right there for Thinker Thunker. You can get some outlaw window. Yeah. Well, he just put the link up in the video there so people can see it.
Oh, because I felt my phone vibrate.
Yeah.
Against my cheek.
And then
we're probably a Bigfoot walking by, man.
Right.
You know,
and you can
shaking the ground.
You can go and get you some fucking Outlaw Window Cleaner t-shirts on there. They're pretty dope. There's 2 new styles on there you guys might like. You know, as a matter of fact, you can also go to www.blackdiamondsqueegee.com and get your rubber from there if you don't want to give us no money.
I gotta try. I had one piece that was actually donated to me like a few years ago.
It's
like
good rubber. I mean, it's cheap enough to buy yourself a dozen, man. It's cheap enough to buy yourself a dozen, and it's worth a shot. It's worth a try. I'm not a wagtail user, so I'm not sure how it will stand up in your wagtail, but
the wagtail rubber lasts long.
Right. Oh yeah, but so does black diamond. And you know, another thing, before I forget, you can go to futureofcleaning.com and get yourself a gunslinger.
Get yourself a gunslinger.
Because Richie is poor and destitute.
I am poor.
He's eating
and
cold,
I'm still trying to.
Gunslinger is where it's at, man. It's going to pave the way of, you know.
And, you know, Richie's already got 14 more different versions of the gunslinger.
Richie's already working on. Well, we can't talk about that, but
he's got 14 different versions of the gunslinger. Each one of them is better than the next one, and he's just going to keep releasing them and making money off you guys. Like, this one's better than the last one. It's kind of like an iPhone.
Oh, man. Squeegee, man, them squeegees going to be collecting dust. Right. Man, he going to be blowing the...
No, you guys got it all wrong, man. You got it all wrong. Like I told you, I think I mentioned in one of the podcasts that Perry said that he's gonna refrain from giving me any royalty checks until they recompensate all the money they had to put into the packaging.
The packaging,
yes.
Then Rich, you'll get paid.
So what do you? So what does that mean? Does that mean
He's
that
only kidding, guys.
You don't know what's going to happen unless he tells you when that happens?
Hey, man, it's all secret.
I was just kidding, man.
He was just kidding, bro. It was a joke.
I was going.
Hey, we did spend a bit of money on the packaging, though, man.
But I tell you what, it's been from all accounts, it's been worth it because people fucking love it, dude.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
got people on my channel that asking me about it. You know.
It's pretty awesome, man. It's pretty. I wish I had the followers you and Richie had. I don't have that many followers.
Man,
I wish I had. I wish I had. I want to know how come Kevin's got. I want to know I want the 500 people that subscribe to Kevin the Window Cleaner's channel to email me and tell me why.
Hey, believe
Dude,
I thought.
yeah. I thought we were gonna quit the podcast, but Marcus decided to fucking go off again and start talking.
To unload. Marcus
Just
wanted to
unloaded on
unload,
us.
man.
Just
His
unload.
Oh, I don't know,
fury.
man.
Jeez.
Hey,
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 Marcus,
you the
though,
one that
next
wanted
time,
to start the podcast. You the one that been trying to etch me on to getting on the podcast.
Hey,
no,
now
let me
hey,
ask you this, Marcus.
Hey,
Let me ask
I
you a
can't
question,
help it.
Marcus.
I can't help it if I got too much info to share. Maybe I
Marcus.
talk too much. Maybe I overanalyze too much.
No, you
Maybe
don't.
that's
Can I
why
ask-
people don't like my channel sometimes because I talk too damn much.
yeah, well,
But I don't
all
tell
Richie
nothing
wants
is
to
the
do,
truth.
all Richie wants to do is ask you a fucking question.
I want to ask you a question, Marcus. Okay, so did you have fun on the podcast tonight? I did. I thought it was great.
I mean, I didn't know what to expect going into this. I didn't know what was expected of me. I guess I was just going to just be myself, pretty much. But
Well, I could speak for myself and TJ. We both had a good time. I loved the fact that you came on the podcast,
Yes.
and I'm hoping that TJ. I mean, it's not my podcast, even though TJ has accused me of that several times tonight. But I want to find out if you're willing. Maybe you can come back on again. I'd like to come back on with you, and we could talk about wagtails and some
Yes.
other stuff because you came up with some good ideas.
Man, that would be a lengthy
Marcus-
podcast, man. I got to tell you.
Yeah. Marcus
I have
was the
too much
first
knowledge,
one.
more than any other wagtail user on the face of history of YouTube.
That's true. And also, too,
why?
Marcus,
Because I understand wagtail, and you got to be like, use the force, Luke.
you got to
gotta
be
be
one
one with the
with the
tool.
wagtail. You do got to be one with the wagtail. Hey, but also, too, I want to make mention of Marcus was one of the first guys that thought about putting a sea sponge in the bottom of the gunslinger, which is,
Pretty smart.
that
Oh,
I'll
I
tell
didn't
you
think
what
anybody.
we're gonna
I
do.
didn't think.
What we're gonna do is we are going to end this podcast before I blow my fucking brains out.
before you shoot yourself.
Dude,
in the face, right?
I've got the worst fucking headache ever, and I stuck it out because I've been saying I wanted to get Marcus on the show, and now I want to make plans to have Marcus on the show again because I want to have a wagtail podcast with you and Richie. I really want to do a wag.
Well,
just
I
you
don't
guys
know
talk
what,
about.
what went wrong. Why wasn't this a wagtail podcast? What happened?
This was a get to know
This
Marcus
was a get to know
podcast.
Marcus podcast. This is
Oh,
dude.
well, that's a couple of podcasts all in itself. I haven't finished yet.
Yeah.
Well, this will be Marcus Bay, part 1.
Yeah.
So for Richie Blue and Marcus Bay and all of us over at Outlaw Window Cleaner Network, we'll see you guys later. And thanks a lot. Peace, guys.
All right, peace. All right, take care.